Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into Ezekiel chapter 29 today.
Hmm.
This chapter, it really focuses in on a prophecy concerning Pharaoh and, well, all of Egypt.
Right, and it frames it right at the start as a message coming straight from the sovereign Lord.
Yeah, that definitely sets the stage.
Yeah,
Immediately, the perspective this text wants you to take. Divine authority speaking.
absolutely. So the first chunk, verses 1 to 16, it gives us a really specific starting point.
The date.
Exactly. In the 10th year, in the 10th month, on the 12th day. That's when Ezekiel gets the call, basically.
Set your face against Pharaoh
Whoa.
and prophesy against him and against all Egypt.
And the core reason given, it jumps right out. Pharaoh's pride.
Oh, yeah. The text quotes him saying, "The Nile is mine. I made it for myself."
Think about that for a second. The Nile, the absolute lifeblood of Egypt.
And he's saying, yeah, that was me. I did that.
It's such a profound claim of self-sufficiency, even creation. From the text's viewpoint, that's a direct challenge, isn't it?
Totally. A challenge to any idea of a higher power. And the imagery used for Pharaoh is, well, intense.
It really is. The great monster lying among your streams.
Like some kind of huge, ancient crocodile or mythical beast just dominating the rivers.
Exactly. And the judgment described, it picks up right on that image.
It does. It says, "I will put hooks in your jaws.
I make the fish of your streams stick to your scales. It's graphic.
I will pull you out from among your streams, with all the fish sticking to your scales, like hauling this massive creature out of its element."
And where does he end up? Not back in the water.
No, completely the opposite. "I will leave you in the desert."
You and all the fish of your streams. You will fall on the open field and not be gathered or picked up.
Exposed, vulnerable, given his food to the beasts of the earth and the birds of the air, a total reversal from ruler of the Nile to, well, carrion.
And the purpose stated right after.
"Then all who live in Egypt will know that I am the Lord."
So the text presents this humbling of a powerful ruler as a way for people to recognize divine sovereignty. It's a key theme.
It seems to be. Then the focus shifts a bit, right, to Egypt's relationship with Israel.
Yes, and here we get another really strong metaphor. Egypt is called a staff of reed for the house of Israel.
A staff? Okay, that's for support. But a reed staff, that sounds, weak, breakable.
Precisely. And the text spells out the consequence. When they grasped you with their hands, you splintered.
Ouch. And you tore open their shoulders.
When they leaned on you, you broke and their backs were wrenched.
So relying on Egypt wasn't just useless, it was actually harmful. It caused injury.
It's a powerful image about misplaced trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Leaning on something that looks like support but is fundamentally unreliable, even dangerous.
Definitely a cautionary idea there. And the text links this unreliability, maybe stemming from that same pride, to more judgment.
Right. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will bring a sword against you and kill your men and their animals.
Military destruction. And leading to widespread desolation, Egypt will become a desolate wasteland.
Yeah, and it gives those geographical markers from Migdol to Aswan, as far as the border of Cush.
Basically the whole length of Egypt, north to south.
The entire territory is targeted, and the desolation sounds complete.
No foot of man or animal will pass through it. No one will live there for 40 years. 40 years! That's a significant number in these texts.
Often a generation or a period of testing, judgment, wilderness wandering.
And the cities, too.
Her cities will lie desolate 40 years among ruined cities, and the people themselves scattered.
"I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries." So land, cities, people, all hit by this judgment, this exile.
But then, perhaps surprisingly, it doesn't end there. Verse 13 offers a shift.
Restoration. After all
A
that.
limited one, yes. Yet this is what the sovereign Lord says: at the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians from the nations where they were scattered.
So the scattering isn't permanent. They're brought back.
They are, back to Upper Egypt, the land of their ancestry. But, and this is crucial, their status is changed.
They don't just go back to being the powerful Egypt from before.
Not at all. The text is very clear. They will be a lowly kingdom.
Lily.
It will be the lowliest of kingdoms and will never again exalt itself above the other nations.
Wow. "I will make it so weak that it will never again rule over the nations."
Yeah.
That's a permanent reduction in status.
From the great monster claiming self-creation to the lowliest of kingdoms, a complete transformation. And this new humbled status has a purpose regarding Israel.
Right. It says Egypt will no longer be a source of confidence for the people of Israel.
But will be a reminder of their sin in turning to her for help.
So weakened Egypt serves as a kind of permanent object lesson for Israel. Don't rely on this kind of power. Remember what happened when you did.
Exactly. It turns a historical event into an ongoing theological reminder according to the text.
So that covers that whole arc. Pride, fall, desolation, humbled restoration. But then the chapter jumps forward in time, doesn't it? Verses 17 to 20.
A big jump. Nearly 17 years later, based on the date given, in the 27th year, in the first month, on the first day.
And this message introduces a new player, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon.
Yeah, and it talks about his campaign against Tyre, a really tough one.
The text says his army went through a hard campaign, that every head was rubbed bare and every shoulder made raw. Sounds grueling.
It really paints a picture of extreme effort, a long, difficult siege, but then it adds something interesting.
What's that?
Yet he and his army got no reward from the campaign he led against Tyre. All that work and apparently not much plunder or compensation from Tyre itself.
Okay, so Babylon worked hard, didn't get paid, basically.
Yeah.
How does that connect back to Egypt?
Well, this is where the text makes a surprising link. The sovereign Lord says, "Therefore, I am going to give Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he will carry off its wealth."
Wait, hang on. Egypt, the nation just described as heading for desolation and scattering, is now being given to Nebuchadnezzar as payment.
Precisely. He will loot and plunder the land as pay for his army. It's presented as compensation for the effort spent on Tyre.
And the justification.
The text says, "I have given him Egypt as a reward for his efforts because he and his army did it for me," declares the sovereign Lord.
Did it for me, even though Nebuchadnezzar was likely just pursuing his own imperial goals against Tyre.
That's the perspective offered here. It reframes Nebuchadnezzar's actions, even his potentially self-motivated campaigns, as serving a larger divine purpose and thus earning this compensation, the spoils of Egypt.
That's a really interesting way to look at geopolitics and the rise and fall of empires. Suggests the power operating behind the scenes, using nations as instruments.
It certainly does. It implies that even seemingly independent actions of powerful rulers can be woven into this larger narrative the text is presenting.
And the chapter finishes with a quick look at the implications for Israel, right? Verse 21.
Yeah, on that day, likely connected to these events, Egypt's judgment, Nebuchadnezzar's role, I will make a horn grow for the house of Israel.
A horn usually means strength, power,
Right.
renewed vitality.
Typically, yes. So somehow these events involving Egypt and Babylon are linked to a resurgence for Israel,
And it mentions Ezekiel too, and I will open your mouth among them.
which could mean his prophecies are seen as fulfilled, giving him greater authority, or maybe he's finally able to speak freely and be heard after a period of difficulty.
Either way, it points to validation and renewed influence. And then we get that recurring phrase one last time.
Then they will know that I am the Lord.
It really ties everything together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Egypt's pride, its fall, the 40 years, the humble return, Nebuchadnezzar's reward, Israel's renewed horn, it all circles back to that purpose.
Demonstrating divine sovereignty, making the Lord known through these historical, political, and national events. That seems to be the central thread pulled through the entire chapter.
So let's bring this back to you, our listener. We've walked through Ezekiel 29, seeing this arc. Pride leading to a fall, unreliability causing harm, a long desolation followed by a humbled return, and even a foreign king being used and rewarded within this divine plan.
And the constant refrain, then they will know that I am the Lord. It raises questions about what this text suggests about pride, both national and perhaps personal.
Yeah, and about reliability. That image of the reed staff relying on something or someone that seems strong but ultimately isn't, and getting hurt in the process. What does that make you think about where confidence is placed?
And the idea of Nebuchadnezzar, this powerful emperor, being described as acting for me, even unknowingly, and being compensated by divine authority with another nation's wealth, that's a challenging perspective on power and history.
It's just a different way of looking at world events, perhaps seeing patterns or purposes beyond the immediate human motivations.
Right. It challenges a purely secular or human-centric view of history, presenting these events through a very specific theological lens.
So maybe a final thought for you to consider, based on Ezekiel 29. This ancient text paints a stark picture. National pride crushed, alliances proving harmful, and divine power portrayed as working through global conflicts and powerful figures like Nebuchadnezzar.
Given that framework, how might it influence the way you think about power dynamics today, or national strength, or the reliability of alliances? Does this ancient perspective offer any resonance, or perhaps friction with how you view the long sweep of history and the forces shaping our world now?
It's certainly something to mull over, a very different lens on power, consequence, and purpose.